Hello, everyone. Hope you are doing well. In this part, we are going to discuss the second unit, Unit 2, from the course Writing for Mass Media. And in the second unit, we are going to discuss writing for the print media, news stories, features, editorials, and literary and subjective practices. Okay, so let's have the discussion. Okay. So in this part, we are going to discuss overview, objectives, and crafting for newspapers. Uh, in crafting for newspapers, we will discuss the breaking news, feature stories, feature composition, article creation, opinion pieces, title drafting, opinion opening lines, magazine writing, recap, and we will also discuss some of the suggested readings. Beside that, self-assessment. Okay, so let's start this. The first thing that comes to our mind, overview of writing for newspapers. Now, what do you mean by that? What do you mean by writing for newspaper and how we supposed to follow that? Let me point out when we talk about newspapers, newspapers are daily publications that serve a broad audience, offering content designed to inform, educate, and entertain, isn't it? And if you talk about that, they cover a wide range of topics, providing both timely updates and more you can say that, more in-depth stories. Beside that, means you can talk about the content within newspapers is typically divided into two broad categories. So, what are those broad categories? You can say that hard news and soft news. Now, what is that hard news? When you talk about hard news, these are stories means that report on current events such as political developments, natural disasters, crime reports, or significant global or national occurrences. Hard news is a factual, concise, and presented in a way that highlights the most critical aspects of the story. Right. The primary goal, if you observe that, is to inform readers quickly about events that are happening or have just occurred, isn't it? So those are nothing but called as a hard news. At the same time, if I talk about soft news, and soft news stories tend to be lighter in nature, focusing on human interest, entertainment, lifestyle, and other features that may not be as urgent but are engaging. Examples of soft news you can say include celebrity interviews, healthy healthy tips or health tips, travel guides, and in-depth features on various topics. While still factual, soft news tends to take a more narrative approaches and is often designed to entertain or provide deeper insight into a topic. So in both hard and soft news, it is essential that what to follow key principles such as you can say that clarity, clarity, right? Beside clarity, you can also talk about accuracy, and you can also talk about objectivity, isn't it? So, headlines play a crucial role, or you can say that crucial role in both types of stories, serving as a tool to grab the reader's attention, while at the same time concisely or succinctly expressing the essence of the story. So, writing for newspapers involves what? Involves crafting clear, concise, and accurate content that meets journalistic standards and making sure both authenticity and readability or understanding. Isn't it? Okay. Coming to the next one you can point out the objectives, right? So let's talk about that. Objectives. So, what do we find out in the objectives? We can say that the objectives of writing for newspaper are focused on understanding the nuances of, you can say that journalistic writing, developing the ability to craft or design compelling and informative content, and making sure that readers can easily differentiate between different types of news, right? When we talk about that, we can find out means the ideas, or you can say that means the key objectives. The key objectives is nothing but called as a understand the structure and style of newspaper writing. And when we talk about means the structure and style of newspaper, so we can find out means the structure the structure and style. Structure generally involves with what newspaper articles typically follows or typically follow a standard structure known as, you can say that inverted pyramid, isn't it? Inverted pyramid, where the most important information is placed at the beginning, where we can say that the lead, isn't it? Okay. So we can say that the lead, then you can talk about the body, right? Followed by supporting details in decreasing order of importance. This ensures that readers can quickly hold the essential points of the story, even if they don't read the entire article, right? Uh, The lead, the lead, the body, and the tell, right? So if I talk about the style newspaper writing is a typically direct, concise, you can say that direct, concise, and objective, isn't it? Objective. The style is designed for clarity, making sure that the story is easy to understand at a quick look, right? Avoiding jargon. You shall not use some of the technical language which will prohibit others for understanding your content. And also, you can say that shall not create some any kind of ambiguity. And using simple language is nothing but called as a main part or key to making the information accessible to a wide audience, isn't it? Okay, coming to the next one. Okay. Uh, if I talk about the next one, we will understand the differentiation between hard news and soft news. When we talk about differentiation between hard news and soft news, so what do we find out? Hard news includes nothing but a factual, factual, and timely stories. Timely stories about what? Timely stories about significant events that need immediate attention. Whereas at the same time, if you talk about soft news stories are less urgent, right? But focus on what? Human interest, entertainment, or lifestyle. Hard news is typically concise, straightforward, and factual. Concise, straightforward, straightforward, and factual, right? Focusing on, you can point out that those five W's and one H that called as a who, what, where, then after when, why, and you can talk about who, what, where, when, why, and you can talk about how, right? So You can find out many of the examples, like I told you earlier, that called as a political updates, right? Political updates when we talk about hard news. So, and also you can talk about natural disaster, and you can talk about crime reports. But at the same time, when we say soft news is often more creative. Soft news is often more creative, and entertainment, like I pointed. Um, and you can say that narrative, narrative driven, isn't it? Giving more space to in-depth features, profiles, or stories that mean to entertain and inform readers on lighter topics. Okay, now we'll move for the next. We will discuss about the techniques for crafting compelling or beautiful decorative articles and features. Now, when we say that techniques that help us to, crafting compelling emotional stories or compelling articles, so what kind of a compelling articles we are talking about? Remember, a well crafted article captures what? Captures the reader's attention right from the headlines or headline, isn't it? And to achieve this, writers should focus on an engaging lead, right? Provide a clear structure and use active language to make the story dynamic and impactful. Dynamic and impactful, isn't it? So, because you need to understand your audience, you need to tap into emotions and create a nothing but a relatable protagonist. Protagonist is called the main character, and your content shall use with conflict and resolution, and incorporate authenticity, employ story techniques. These are things must be there, isn't it? At the same time, when we talk about feature writing, so feature writing, or you can say that features, they are longer stories. They're longer stories that allow more room for creativity and storytelling. These can explore, you can say that a topic in depth, offering background information, context, and analysis. And if you want to write compelling features, focus on what? Focus on providing detailed descriptions, detailed descriptions, engaging narratives, and you can say that offering insights that add value for the reader. Okay, so let's focus for the crafting for newspaper. So crafting for newspapers, breaking news, and hard news. When we say that crafting for newspaper, means we can talk about uh, the most important part is called the breaking news, right? Or you talk about means hard news. So, and when we say that hard news refers to what? News stories, news stories about current events that have a significant political, social, and economic, or you can say that cultural impact, cultural impact. And these events are usually urgent and important, affecting a wide audience. Hard news generally covers topics such as government decisions, natural disasters, accidents, major crimes, right? And other time sensitive stories. The writing style for hard news is nothing but, like I pointed earlier, clear, concise, and And fact based, focusing on what? Delivering important information as quickly as possible. So, If I talk about the structure of a hard news, so we can follow the inverted pyramid that we follow in the earlier section, right? Inverted pyramid structure is commonly used in where? Used in news writings, right? Like where I talked about, or where I stated about what the lead, then after body, then after tail, right? So the most important details of the story are placed at the beginning, right? Yeah. So detailed placed at the beginning, followed by supporting information in describing, or you can say that descending order of importance. And this allows readers to quickly hold the main point, uh, even if they don't read the entire articles, right? So let's take one example. The example you can get it here is called as, let's say, the state government announced what? A new educational reform aimed at increasing funding for rural schools effective next academic years. In this example, you would find out that the most crucial information is what presented first, the announcement of education reform. Additional details would be followed in subsequent paragraphs, such as the specific changes to the funding or how it will impact schools. Right. Okay. Now let's move further. Okay. So, what are the tips for writing hard news? We can follow the tips for the writing hard news. It's called as a prioritize facts, use verified quotes, avoid unnecessary details, and stick to relevant information. And we will discuss each in a broadly manner. When we talk about prioritize facts, what we can find out, now the focus of hard news is to express accurate information. Always ensure that the facts you report are verified and come from, you can say that, authentic resources or authentic sources. Second is called as a use verified quotes. Use verified quotes means including quotes from credible, authentic sources such as government officials, experts, or witness, right? Or witnesses. They they actually help and support the story's legitimacy, or called as a legal form, and they are actually authority. They always verify the information before using a code, isn't it? So therefore, means the first one is called as a prioritize facts. Second is called as a use verified sources or verified codes. Avoid unnecessary details. So why? Now, because in hard news means brevity is key, right? Only include details that are directly relevant to the story. Avoid any fluff or background information that doesn't contribute to the core fact shall not be used. Okay. Then fourth, which is stated about stick to relevant information. Now, in that case, you can say each detail in a hard news story should contribute to answering the five W's and five W's and one H, which I pointed: who, what, where, when, why, and how. Right? If a detail does not help answer these questions, consider leaving it out. The goal is what? To deliver the essential efficiency. Right? Deliver what? Deliver the essentials efficiently. Isn't it? Because that's what is the motto of hard news. Right. Okay. Yeah. So the next part which we talk about is called as a feature stories. In feature stories means we follow uh, that called as a soft news. And when we talk about soft news differs from hard news, which we already discussed, by focusing more on what? Human interest, emotions, and you can say that broader impact of an event. It explores what stories that engage readers on a personal level, offering deeper insights and more creative storytelling. And these stories often highlight what? Often highlight individual experiences, community bonds, right? Or you can say that unique perspectives, right? And making them more connected and emotional to the audience. So, what are the characteristics of soft news? When we talk about characteristics of soft news, we can find out engaging headlines and intros, unique, unique angles, and in-depth research. And third is called as a personal touches. So, engaging headlines and intros, what do you mean by that? It means the headline and the lead intro of soft news stories are nothing but designed to captivate the readers or attract the reader's attention and influence curiosity or empathy. They often present details or you can say that emotional appeal, right? Second, unique angles and in-depth research. When we say or when we tell about soft news stories, often explore what a specific personal angle that differentiates them from standard hard news. Journalist or journalists typically invest the time in what? Time in research to uncover personal stories behind the scene details, or you can say that no known facts, right? Or little known facts. So let's talk about some of the examples which we find out here. One is called as a hard news story. So the example you can find out a wildlife or wildfire destroys 300 homes in what? In California, leaving thousands displaced. This can be called as a hard news story. At the same time, the example of soft news stories, which will which will state like this: survivors of the California, right? California wildfire recount how the community came together to rebuild homes and lives, isn't it? Now, this can be known as what? Means examples of hard news and soft news, right? And the characteristic that we have read and understood. Okay, coming to the next one. So, the key elements of feature stories. Now, when we talk about key element of feature stories, we can find out there are three uh, elements or key elements of feature stories. One is known as a what? That called as a start strong, and you can say that anecdotes. Anecdotes means stories, or you can use quotes, right? Because when we start writing feature stories, our priority is called as opening with a compelling personal story or a memorable quote, right? Compelling compelling story or compelling personal story, personal story, or you can say that a memorable quote, memorable, memorable quote, memorable quote. Isn't it? Why? Because that can immediately engage the reader, right? And these elements draw the what or attract the reader into the narrative, offering a glimpse into the human side of the story, isn't it? So therefore, when you start writing, right? So your writing must be start with the strong, with the stories or quotes. Second is known as identify unique angles and include relatable characters. And when we talk about that, we focus on feature stories, often on a specific person. You can say that a specific group, or you can say that specific event, right, with an angle that sets it apart from typical news coverage. The characters, you can say, should be relatable to the audience and making it what? Making it easy or easier for them to emotionally connect it with the story, isn't it? So the third one, which is stated, use thoughtful quotes and end with a message. Now, when I say that use thoughtful quotes, it means it includes meaningful quotes from those involved or arts, depth and authenticity. A well-placed quotes can provide. insight into the emotions, your struggles, or you can say that triumphs. Triumphs means victory, isn't it? Victory of the characters. So, and conclude the story with a powerful message, or you can say reflection that helps leave a lasting impression on the reader. Okay, so generally, if I talk about that feature storage, so they allow a deeper expression of events, showing not just what happened, but the personal and um, you can say that emotional journeys that unfold as a result. By mixing story, you can find out that by mixing storytelling with the facts, what happened? Feature articles often turns reach humanized perspectives on the world around us, isn't it? So uh, let's move to the next one that's called as a feature composition. Now, what do you mean by feature composition? And means what feature composition tells actually, and what is the use of it? Now, when we talk about feature composition, it means feature writing. What is feature writing? Now, feature writing is a journalistic style that shares or contributes similarities with the news stories, but allows for what more creativity, depth, and flexibility. So what it does, creativity, creativity, depth, depth, and flexibility, flexibility, isn't it? So it's not like a news, hard news, right? Which is focused on presenting facts in a concise manner. Feature writing provides an opportunity. Opportunity for what? Opportunity to explore a subject more thoroughly. It often includes nothing but a broad range of storytelling techniques such as vivid description or clear description, stories, and even humor, comedy, right? And feature stories are designed to captivate or attract reader by engaging them on a deeper, often emotional level, right? So, what are the key characteristic of feature writing? We can find out your feature writing must be flexible structure or must have flexible structure, creative freedom, and a balanced tone. Like if I talk about flexible structure, I can say that feature stories typically follow a structure that include nothing but lead, body, and conclusion. But they offer also flexibility in how these components are presented. While news stories often follow a strict inverted pyramid, feature writing allows for more creativity in organizing the story. Writers can begin with an anecdote or story or supporting fact or even a rhetorical question, which means it doesn't allow means intend for answering the question, but it is given for or it is asked in a manner, right, to engage the reader, right? So, second is called as a creative freedom. In creative freedom, feature writing generally grants the writer more leeway to use, you can say that descriptive language, anecdotes, and humor. And this creative freedom allows the writer to do what? Allows the writer to paint vivid pictures and you can say that develop a strong sense of atmosphere and emotion. It enrich the story. Writers may also use, you can talk about metaphors, or you can say that similes, and colorful language that to add fair, right? Add, you can say that flair to the narrative, isn't it? So the third one, which is indicating about balanced tone, while feature stories, as far as I suggested, can include humor and sarcasm, right? So feature stories can include humor and sarcasm. The tone should still remain what? Appropriate and respectful. Appropriate and respectful. So humor, when used effectively, can engage the reader and add personality to the story. But you can say that it must align with the story's context and purpose. Sarcasm or humor that alienates or offends the audience should be avoided. Readers with, you can say, richer and you can say that more nuanced experiences, right? Um, More nuanced experiences. So all such kind of a thing avoid should be avoided. It's about nothing but mixing creativity with, you can say that, journalistic integrity to produce stories that are nothing but called as both entertaining and informative, isn't it? So then we talk about what types of feature, how many different types of feature writing is presented that we will discuss. Now, see that if I talk about different types of feature, we can find out that what there are six different types of feature writing, right? One is called as what? You can talk about informative features, human interest features, historical features, satirical features, how-to features, and seasonal features. So, informative features. Now, what is that actually? When we talk about informative features, generally these features focus on what? Providing useful, factual information in an engaging manner. They can cover a wide variety of topics from health tips to scientific discoveries, isn't it? Similar to that second, human interest features. When we talk about human interest features, these features highlight what? The personal, emotional, and often inspirational stories of individuals or groups, and their aim to connect with the readers on a deep emotional level, deep emotional levels, right? So then third is called as a historical features, and these articles explore past events. You can also say that figures or phenomena, often providing readers with a fresh perspective on history, right? Uh, and the fourth one, which is called as a satirical features. Satirical features generally used with what? Humor, comedy, irony, contrast, and excessive praising to comment on current events, societal norms, or you can say cultural issues. And these pieces are written in a, you can say that, playful manner, playful, or sometimes also you can say that sarcastic tone, isn't it? But can deliver strong critics or opinions. Okay, so similar to that, if I talk about five, which is indicated about how to features offer practical advice or instruction for accomplishing or successfully completed a specific task, such as you can say that to cooking, right? Such as cooking, or you can say that home improvement, or you can talk about gardening, isn't it? Then the last one, season features. Season features focus on what? Events or activities tied to specific times of the year, right? Let's say that if I talk about some example, holiday related stories, summer travel tips, isn't it? Um, or you can say that a New Year's resolution. All such kind of things are there, which can coming under seasonal features, right? And these different types of features which help us to, means write our article in a well manner. Okay, yeah. So tips for writing features. When we talk about writing features, we also need to know about tips for writing features. The first one, which is called as a tailor the tone to the audience, right? The tone of a feature should align with the what publication's audience. Consider whether the audience prefers um, what formal, or you can say that serious, or you talk about serious, or you talk about content or more relaxed. So, whether formal content, serious content, or relaxed content. So, conversational writing adjust your tone accordingly to engage the and connect with your readers. Then the second one, which is called as a base writing on thorough research. While feature writing allows for creativity, it is still rooted in facts and accurate information. So, thorough research is essential to ensure that the story is nothing but authentic and informative. And this research also helps the writer identify, you can say that, interesting angles, right? Quotes and details that will add depth to the feature, right? So, that's what you can point out on base writing on thorough research. The third one, which is called as add a personal touch, and does what make the text engaging. Now, when we talk about personal touch and engaging text, so feature writing often benefits from a, you can say that, personal conversational touch, personal, and you can talk about conversational touch, right? This could involve what? Including first person perspective, unique insight, or you can say emotional connection to the subject. So, and make the story relatable, engaging by weaving personal elements into the narrative, isn't it? Okay. Now, let's go for the article creation and we will follow with the key elements of article creation. Now, when we talk about article creation, so crafting articles requires a balance of clear, concise, uh, concise reporting, and creative storytelling. Writers must engage the reader while making sure that the context serves both the publication's goals and the needs of its audience, whether it is a hard news, a feature, or an opinion piece. Right? Effective article creation involves what? Key several key steps. So several key steps. Why? To ensure accuracy, clarity, and reader engagement, isn't it? So the key elements of article creation is clear language, accurate and engaging narratives. Now, when I say that clear language, the language used in articles must be clear and straightforward, right? And like I pointed it, you should avoid jargon or overly complex sentence structures that could confuse the reader. The goal is to what? Express. The goal is to express the what? Express the message in a way that is easily understood by the target audience. And clear writing enhances or increases readability and helps maintain readers' interest. Right. Second, which is called as accurate or accurate facts. And when we talk about accurate facts, it ensures that the article is what? Based on based on verified and accurate facts. And that is what essential. In journalism, you can talk about credibility is a paramount, right? So writers must first check what fact, all the information that means they present using reliable sources to back up their claims. This not only builds trust with the reader, but also upholds the integrity of the publication, right? So therefore, accurate facts is highly essential. Engaging narratives, even in straightforward news articles, it is important to what? Engage the reader. An article should tell what? Should tell a story, isn't it? Whether it is about a person, an event, or an issue. This can be achieved through what? compelling leads, compelling, compelling leads, vivid description, and interesting angles. The narrative should draw or attract the reader in and maintain their attention, making them want what? Making them want the story to continue or making them want to continue reading, isn't it? Okay. So when we go for the steps in article writing, what we can find out planning and research, right? So we start when we start writing article at the same time the first thing is called as a planning and research. So how do you begin? You begin by conducting thorough research, right, on the topic, understand the background, identify reliable sources and gather data, relevant data. Planning involves nothing but what? Outlining the key points and structuring the article to make sure logical flow and coverage of all necessary information. Second, crafting the lead. When we talk about crafting the lead is one of the most critical parts of the articles. It should grab what? It should grab the reader's attention from the first sentence, offering a clear snapshot of what the article is about. In hard news, the lead is usually nothing but a direct summary. Summary of what? Summary of means you can say the most important facts, right? So while in feature writing, it may include an anecdote or an intriguing fact to draw readers in, isn't it? So third is called as a body of the articles. So the body expands on the lead, right? The body expands on the lead, uh, or you can say that providing further details, explanations, and supporting information. It may include quotes from experts, uh, statistics, right, and examples that help clarify the main points. So it organizes the body logically using subheadings, bullet points, or you can say that short paragraphs to break up the um, next text and make it easier to read for the audience. Then we can talk about concluding the article. So the conclusion should bring the article to a natural end. It can summarize the main points, offering a to action, call to action, or leave the reader with something to think about. In future stories, the conclusion might tie back to the opening anecdotes or stories or provide a thought provoking or you can say something that influence the readers and that used in the final quotes, right? Then we talk about editing and revising. So when we talk about editing and revising, so after you have formed the initial draft, the article should be what? Article should be edited. Edited for what? Edited for clarity, coherence, edited for clarity, coherence, coherence, and you can say that accuracy, right? So at the same time, you need to also check the grammatical errors, awkward phrasing, awkward, awkward phrasing, or you can say that redundant, right? Redundant sentences, and make sure that the article is concise, concise, and all necessary facts are included. Revising the article involves checking the tone, making sure it aligns with the publication style, right? Finally, we come to the final review, and you can say that publication. So before submitting or publishing the article, review it one last time. Why? To make sure it meets all the necessary requirements. So check by factual, accuracy, spelling, punctuation, and overall flow, right? Once it's polished, the article is ready. Ready for what? Ready for publication. re- ready for publication. So let's focus on tips for crafting compelling articles, right? So when we talk about crafting compelling articles, we should know that to whom are you writing, isn't it? And the articles belong means presented before whom. So that is why the first tips for crafting compelling audience is called as means one should know one's audience, and on the basis of that, uh, he or she uses strong quotes, keeps it engaging, avoid bias, and use active voice. Let's say that the first one, know your audience. It means what? You need to tailor your writing and writing style and tone to suit the audience, because an article for a young, tech savvy audience will have a different style compared to one for an older, more traditional readership, isn't it? So, therefore, one has to know one's audience, right? Second, it's called as you use strong quotes. So, including quotes from experts or individuals involved in the story that adds credibility, authenticity, and interest, making sure that the codes are relevant and contribute meaningful to the article, isn't it? Keep it engaging. When we say that keep it engaging, so what we can find out that regardless of the type of article, maintains readers' interest is crucial, isn't it? We need to use a descriptive language, create relatable scenario, and vary sentence lengths to keep the reader engaged from start to finish, right? Then we talk about avoid bias. So maintain objectivity, especially in news writing, present facts without bias, and avoid allowing personal opinions cloud the reporting. In feature writing, while there is more room for creativity, it is still essential to balance storytelling with the factual accuracy, right? And finally, we'll move for the next one, which is called as active voice. Use active voice in grammar. So writing in the active voice that makes what? Makes sentences clearer and more direct. So it helps create a strong narrative or stronger narrative and maintain the reader's focus on the main points of the article. So that is why these five tips are helping us for crafting compelling articles. So finally, we come to the conclusion. In conclusion, we can state about what creating an article is nothing but a process of what mixing concise reporting with the creative storytelling. So writers must provide accurate facts, structure the article effectively, and engage the reader with a compelling narrative. So by following these principles, what we can find out a journalist can create articles that inform, entertain, and leave a lasting impact on their audience, isn't it? Okay, let me show some examples and then we'll proceed further. So crafting compelling articles. Now look at this. This is an example of hard news article. What do you find out in the hard news article? You find out uh, in hard news article, uh, you can see that the breaking news headline is provided, right? So we can say here, the headline is what? Government announces emergency funding for flood relief efforts, right? Lead, the federal government has allocated $50 million in emergency relief funds to assist the thousands of individuals displaced by catastrophic or destructive flooding in the Midwest, which began early this week. So second is what? That called as a body. So When we talk about body, we elaborate the information by stating what the flooding caused by unprecedented rainfall that has affected over 10,000 homes and businesses in several states, including Iowa and Nebraska. So the funds will be used to provide temporary housing, restore isn't it? Critical infrastructure, and assist with the long-term recovery uh, efforts, right? So, what our first priority is to ensure the safety and you can say security of all affected citizens. Who said? President Taylor said during a press conference. So, here you can find out the fact. We are committed to providing the resources needed to rebuild these communities. The flooding also caused extensive damage, right? Extensive damage to crops, with experts estimating losses at more than $100 million. So, and finally, we reach to the nothing but conclusion. So we can find out the relief package is expected to, uh, help the affected regions recover quickly. However, officials warn that the road to full recovery may take several years due to the scale of the destruction, isn't it? Okay. So this is an example, and you can find out this example, uh, which is highlighted in the next part or at the site where it is shown a picture and also means given some of the sub subheadings, right, which will elaborate the information. Okay. So we'll also meet with nothing but an example of what that called as a feature stories, right? Feature stories or soft news. Here also you can find out the headline is provided lead, body, and conclusion. And the headline stated in the small town of Cedar Falls, the floodwaters may have nothing but a ravaged homes, isn't it? But previous to that, we also find out the headline. So, and the headline stated that the resilience of community after the flood, a tale of rebuilding lives. And the lead said what? In the small town of Siddharth Falls, the flood waters may have ravaged homes, but they could not break the spirit of its people, right? Residents are coming, you can say that, together in ways that no one could have imagined to rebuild their community one brick at a time. So, similar to that, we also find out the body. When the flood hit, many residents were forced to, you can say that, evacuate, leaving behind homes and uh, cherished possessions. But in the days that followed, something remarkable happened. Neighbors banded together, forming volunteer groups to clean up, and rebuild what was lost. Right. So here also somebody said, or somebody gave his viewpoint. I never imagined we would be cleaning up our neighbors' homes. Right. Who said that? You can find out Sarah Jenkins, a lifelong resident of Cedar Falls. But when you see people in need, you do what you can. Local businesses have also, you can say that, stepped in to help, offering free meals, transportation, and tools to those who lost everything. The local school, which became a shelter for displaced families, are now hosting you can say that community dinner every weekend to keep a moral high. One emotion, you can say that one emotional moment that was captured on social media. Uh, and you can find out that when a mother who lost her home returned to find that her neighbors had, you can say that what neighbors had repainted her front door in her favorite color. So you can find out that small acts like the moral which is given that can make all the differences. Jenkins said, her eyes welling with tears. So it is what keeps us going. And finally, we get to the conclusion. So as Cedar Falls begins to rebuild its residents, you can say that show that even in the face of a disaster, hope and unity can shine brighter than the flood waters ever could, right? So you can see that another example of means resilience community after the flood is given, right? Okay. So coming to the next one, we will understand about the future articles, human interest, right? So future article, human interest. So another example where the headline is provided, a 90-year-old artist painted through the lens of time. Here also we find out lead and then after body and conclusion, right? So in lead, what does it say? For 90-year-old Eleanor Harris, art is not just a passion, it's a lifelong commitment that has just shaped her view of the world. So she has spent decades painting landscapes, capturing the fleeting beauty of nature and chronicling the changing seasons of life. So then we find out body, which is stated about Eleanor's art studio, a small room um, filled with brushes, paints, and countless canvas. Uh, that has been her sanctuary for as long as she can remember. So here we find out the direct quote which has been given. I paint because it is the one thing that truly lets me connect with the world around me. So Eleanor Sage, right? So Eleanor Sage, her hands gently brushing in the bristles of a paintbrush. Her love for painting began at a younger age in the rural hometown. As a child, she would wander the fields, sketching the flowers and uh, trees she saw. Today, her work hangs in galleries across the country, but she remains deeply connected to her roots. Despite her success, Eleanor remains humble about her accomplishments. I never set out to become famous, she reflects. I just wanted to share what I see. And also, you can say that to tell a story with my painting. Her works often, you can say that depicting tranquil scenes of natures, speak to her deep appreciation for the simplicity and beauty of the world around her. So, and also it is stated, art is a way to freeze a moment in time. So that's what she explains, a way to capture memories that fade too quickly. So the final, which we also find out in this future article, human interest, is what that called as a conclusion. As she celebrate her 90th birthday, Eleanor Harris is not showing down or slowing down. His latest collection that set to the unveiled next month reflects her enduring love for art and her, you can say that unyielding commitment to expressing herself through paint. For her, the journey is as important as the destination, and you can say that what the journey of painting is far from over, isn't it? Okay. Now, let's look at the next one that's called as opinion articles. So, in this opinion articles, we'll also find out one of the example, and you would find out how the opinion articles are written and how um, it is indicating nothing but a yeah. Um, if you talk about the opinion articles, we find out the one of the example is provided here, which is given with nothing but why digital why digital detox should be part of our daily routine. If I talk about this, and it is nothing but a kind of a debatable one opinion article, so where um, the author has taken one of the topic and tried to uh, give his opinion on the basis of it. And we here also we find out the same means inverted pyramid that's called as a lead body and you can say that conclusion. So here also you would find out why digital detox should be part of our daily routine. So It begins with in today's hyper-connected world, taking a digital detox has become a necessity, not just a luxury. We are constantly plugged into devices, but disconnecting for a short time, right? Short time each day that can have significant benefits for our mental and physical well-being. Then we talk about the next one, which is called as a body, right? So we can say that our smartphones, computers, and social media, that platforms are designed to keep us what? Engaged 24 by 7. And yet, research has shown that what excessive screen time can lead to increased stress, anxiety, and even depression. By taking breaks from our scenes, we allow our minds to rest and recharge. A recent study found that what people who spend just 30 minutes a day away from digital devices had lower level of stress and reported better, right? Reported better overall overall mood, right? So it's not just about taking time off from work emails or social media updates. A digital detox encourages us to re engage with the world around us, whether it is spending time with the loved ones, reading a book, or taking a walk. These moments of, you can say that, disconnect foster deeper connections and provide a sense of clarity. The constant barrage, you can say that, the constant barrage of information that can be overwhelming, but by setting boundaries with our digital devices, means the amount of time we spend on it, we reclaim our time and energy. It's about nothing but finding balance, not a complete avoidance. A digital detox is not a call to discontinue technology. It is a reminder to use it mindfully, isn't it? So, and at last, we can also find out conclusion: incorporating a digital detox into our daily lives um, can help reduce stress, increase productivity, and improve our relationships. As we continue to live in an increasingly digital world, it is essential to what? It is essential to remember that sometimes stepping away is the best way to move forward, isn't it? Okay. So let's say that or opinion pieces and what are opinion pieces and the key characteristics. Uh, if I talk about the opinion pieces, we find out one of the example earlier to this. The question comes out: what are What are opinion pieces? Now, if I talk about that, opinion pieces, often called what? Editorials, right? Uh, Commentaries, or you can say that means op-eds, right? Op-eds, right? So it presents a writer's perspective on a current issue or current event or current topic. And these articles are nothing but subjective and reflect personal views, but they are based on what? They're based on facts, they're based on sound reasoning, right? And the purpose is nothing but the same, like inform, educate, persuade, or provoke or influence thought in the reader's mind, isn't it? Uh, so therefore, means the key characteristic of the opinion pieces would be what? Uh, it is generally focused with nothing but subjective perspective, right? Subjective perspective, like you can say that opinion pieces offer the writers personal views and interpretations, rather than presenting nothing but neutral or objective news reporting, isn't it? Second is called as a research based. Well researched arguments support the opinions, right? The writer should base their viewpoints on facts, studies, statistics, or experts' opinions to make a strong case. Third is called as a persuasive tone. The goal is to persuade or convince readers to agree with the writer's standpoint, writer's opinion, or at least consider the viewpoint. And this often includes addressing the counter arguments and refuting them logically, right? Then fourth one is called as a clear structure, right? So opinion pieces generally follow a logical structure, often with an introduction to outline the issue, a body to explain the argument, and a conclusion, which is nothing but to summarize and reinforce the stance, right? So the clear structure would be what? That called as a introduction. Introduction. So when we talk about introduction, it's called as a outline the issue. Second is called as a means explain the argument, which is called as a body. Explain the argument. Then the third one is called as a conclusion, conclusion, which is called as to summarize and reinforce the stance. Okay. Now, structure of an opinion piece, you can find out the example is given: headline, lead, introduction, body, counter arguments, and the rebuttal. Now, when we talk about structure of an opinion piece, we can take one of the example, which is called as let's say that the headline should, means grab attention and hint at the writer's viewpoint, right? Let's say that if I give you an example, why online, why education, why online education is the future of, is the future of learning, is the future of learning, isn't it? So this could be called as a kind of a headline. Then second is called as a lead or instruction, lead introduction, right? So in that case, a strong opening that introduces the issue, right? Um, States the writer's, you can say that goal and hints at nothing but the reasoning, right? Reasoning behind the argument. Let's say that uh, if I give you the headline, it's called as a why online education is the future of learning. So in introduction, we can say that as a traditional region, we need to provide nothing but a reasoning behind the argument. As a traditional classroom, learning faces increasing challenges. Online education is not just a temporary solution, but a long-term transformation that can, you can say that, democratize education worldwide, isn't it? Then we talk about the lead and the body. Uh, and when we talk about body, what we can find out, this section elaborates on the writer's argument supported by research, data, and examples. It might also address nothing but a counter arguments and um, try to strengthen the case, right? Example, like you can say, research shows that online education offers flexibility that traditional schooling cannot. Studies from universities across the globe reveal that students in online programs often perform just as well, right? If not better than their in-person counterparts. Moreover, online education breaks geographical barriers, enabling students from rural or underdeveloped regions to access nothing but a high quality learning, isn't it? So this could be present in a body. Then fourth is called as a counter arguments and rebuttal. So counter argument is nothing but acknowledging what means the viewpoints are, right? Acknowledge and address opposing viewpoints and explaining why the writer's perspective, right, is stronger, right? So let's say that the example which is stated, which is called as a critics of online education, argue that it lacks personal interaction, but it advances in virtual classrooms and interactive learning tools, which are nothing but a bridging or connecting this gap. Moreover, you can say that online platform encourages self-discipline and you can say that time management skills that are nothing but crucial for personal and professional growth, right? And finally, when we talk about conclusion, so conclusion must be also compelling one or attracting one. So compelling closing that reiterates the main argument and calls the reader to action or reflection. Let's say that if I talk about an example, I can say that, um, excuse me, as we move further into the digital age, sorry, as we move further into the digital age, we can say that embracing or holding online education is no longer a choice, but a necessity. It's time for policymakers to invest in digital infrastructure and embrace the future of education, isn't it? So that's what you can say that using as an example to it. Okay. Now look into this. This one is again called as another example of an opinion piece where we find out one of the headline is given the urgent need for climate action, right? The urgent need for climate action now. And the lead which is given, the effects of climate change are no longer a distant threat. They are here impacting community across the world from rising sea level to extreme weather events. Climate change is reshaping, right? Reshaping our planet. Immediate action is crucial to stop further damages, and governments, businesses, and individuals must all do their part, right? So, likewise, we also find out the body, how the body is written. The scientific consensus on our climate change is clear. Human activity is driving global warming. According to the United States, 2020 was one of the hottest years on record, and we are already seeing or meeting the consequences of unchecked greenhouse gas emissions. One of the most alarming impacts of climate change is the increase in natural disaster. Wildfire, hurricanes, and floods are becoming more frequent and severe, displacing millions and costing economies billions of dollars. And you can say that what? These extreme weather These extreme weather events are disproportionately affecting vulnerable population, particularly in developing countries. So what is worse is that the window for meaningful action is closing fast, right? So the you can say that what the IPCC, which is known as the Intergovernmental Panel on Climate Change, warns that we have only a few years to make drastic changes or drastic reduction in emission to avoid, catastrophic consequences. But many governments are still hesitate to commit to ambitious climate policies. And this delay in action is not just an environmental issue, it is a social and economic one. A failure to address climate change that will excessive harmful to inequality. So displace millions and threaten global foods and water security, isn't it? So at the same time, we also find out that nothing but a counter argument, isn't it? Counter argument, counter argument and rebuttal, right? So we can also say that counter argument and rebuttal. So Opponents, you can say that, argue that transitioning to green energy transition to green energy that will hurt the economy and job markets. However, you can say studies show that the renewable energy sector is one of the fastest growing industries globally, providing millions of new jobs. Transitioning to sustainable energy sources not only protects the environment but also, you can say that, drives economic growth and innovation. So here and finally we reach to the conclusion where we can say that the longer we wait, the more expensive and devastating the impacts will be. Climate action is no longer optional; it is a moral and crucial action. Is no longer optional. It is it's moral and economic policies. You can say that, or economic imperative. Governments must act now to implement policies that reduce emissions, promote sustainable energy, and protect future generation. So it is the time for half measures is over, right? So I have already also stated that when you write the opening opinion pieces, you need to be clear, right? You need to be clear, you need to be concise, uh, you need to stay professional, and you can say that respectful, stay professional, and you can say that respectful. Uh, you should use evidence. You can also say make the reader engage and call to action, isn't it? Okay, yeah. So these are the tips for writing opinion pieces. So the first one which we pointed is called as a be clear and concise. Uh, always understand that what while opinion pieces can be persuasive or called as a convincing the reader, they should not be, bogged down. They should not be bogged down. Bogged down by what? Bogged down by unnecessary jargon or overly complex arguments. Readers should understand your viewpoints quickly. Second is called as a stay professional and respectful. Even though you are presenting an opinion, always remain respectful of opposing views. Avoid personal attacks or inflammatory language, which could weaken the piece's credibility. Then third is called as a we use evidence, right? Opinion pieces should not be based purely on personal opinions. They must be supported by facts, studies, statistics, or expert testimony, right? Uh, then we can talk about make it engaging. So while the goal is what? Persuasion or convincing the readers, it's also important to make the pieces engaging. Use stories, which is known as anecdotes, examples, rhetorical devices to attract or to draw reader in and make your argument memorable. And finally, we talk about nothing but call to action. So uh, it concludes one's opinion one's opinion piece with nothing but a call to action, requesting readers to think differently or take specific, steps in response to the issue. Right? That's what we can find out when we go for the opinion pieces. Okay. Uh, let's move to the next one, which is called as a title. Okay. Uh, what is that title actually? We are talking about title drafting, right? Yes. Now, what do you mean by title drafting? So when we talk about title drafting can be referred as a what? Headlines that are crucial for drawing readers' attention, and you can say that giving them a clear idea of the story's essence. They should be concise, informative, and compelling, right? And so the key points for effective headlines is called to ensure accuracy, right? Ensure accuracy. That is the most important one. And we need to remember that the effective headlines, so where means accuracy must be there, like headlines should be factually correct and reflective of the story content, and avoid excessive praise, or you can say misleading information, isn't it? So therefore it is stated ensure accuracy. Let's say that flood devastates entire museum, so which is not correct. You can say flood may have damaged museum artifacts, which is correct way to means presented. Flood devastates or destroys entire museum, uh, which is not sounding that true, right? We can say that what means flood may have damaged museum articles, isn't it? Then we talk about the second one, which is called to be logical and specific, right? So the first one which we talk about is called as effective headlines. So second one is nothing but a be logical and specific. When we talk about be logical and specific, I can say that a headline should clearly indicate the who, what, when, where, and how, right? So specificity adds nothing but a credibility and helps what readers for what readers understand the context quickly. So let's say that if I talk about the example, we can say vague accident causes chaos. Accident causes chaos. Causes chaos. Chaos. Right. But at the same time, this is known as nothing but a vague one. Vague. So, but if I want to make it logical and specific, then what I can use? I can say that car crash on Main Street causes morning traffic jam. So, accident causes chaos. Car crash on uh, yeah. So, car crash on Main Street causes nothing but a morning traffic jam, isn't it? So, that could be called as a nothing but a logical and specific. Then the next one, which we can find out, is called as a concise and a simple language. So one has to use concise and simple language. So why? Now, because headlines should be easy to read and understand. Avoid unnecessary words and jargon. Right? Let's say that the example you can find out. Some some articles are WADI. WADI means the annual meeting for the uh, fundraising efforts of the local charity organization was a huge success. Now you can find out WADI, right? So the annual meeting of for the fundraising efforts of the local charity organization was a huge success. But if I want to write the same thing, right, this is called as a WADI. So the same sentence can be written in a concise manner. How? Like you can say that uh, charities fundraiser success or a local annual huge. In that case, you can find out this attract, right? The concise and simple language, right? Okay. Now we'll move for the opt for active voice. So when we talk about opt for active voice, let's say that we can say the decision was made by city council for what? Not to increase property taxes. So what do you call to it? We call to it nothing but a passive voice. How? It is stated the decision was made by city council to increase Increase property taxes. Increase property taxes. Now, the decision was made by city councillor to increase property taxes. But the same information, if I write it in an active voice, what it would be? We can say that city council votes to raise property laws. City council votes to, raise property taxes, isn't it? Okay. So the fifth one, which is appointed here as example, right? But previous to that, let's see that what the fifth one is stated. Keep it engaging and attention grabbing. Now the headline should spark interest or highlight the most important aspect of the story to, you know, encourage encourage what? Encourage readers to dive deeper, right? Let's say that if I talk about example, uh, lackluster, lackluster. So you can say that the new app released by tech company, lackluster, the new app released by tech company. Second, you can also say that engaging. So you can say that tech company's new app promises to revolutionize social media, isn't it? So that's again called as how you can keep your readers engaged and attention grabbing. Excuse me. Okay. Let me take you to the types of headlines that we generally find out. Uh, means in newspaper. When we say that types of headlines, we can find out informative headlines, intriguing or teaser headlines, how to headlines, question headlines, and action-driven headlines. So we generally know these are the headlines. Like when we talk about informative headlines, we can say these are straightforward and provide the key facts. Like you can take the example, government approves new climate change legislation. Second one is called as interviewing or teaser headlines. So you can also say that these spark curiosity and encourage the reader to explore further. Like you can say, what happens when you stop drinking coffee for a week? Then third is called as a how-to headlines. So these offer value by providing advice or guidance. Let's say that example is called as a how to start investing in the stock market. Then fourth is called as a question headlines, and these engage readers by asking a thought-provoking question. Let's say that can renewable energy replace fossil fuels by 2030? So the last one, action-driven headlines. Here you can find out these request readers to take an action or express a sense of urgency. Example, like you can say, read, uh, register today for the summer coding bootcamp, isn't it? So these are nothing but college types of headlines and how they use it. Okay. Look at this. Some of the examples are given, which are whether inaccurate or accurate, which are also pointed here. Like look at the first one where it is stated that in a earthquake destroys entire city, which is inaccurate. Earthquake destroys entire city. Accurate would be what? Magnitude 7.0. Earthquake strikes city, right? So that causes nothing but a widespread damage, isn't it? That could be the accurate one. Inaccurate, president declares war on neighboring countries. Now, in that case, you can say President issues a statement on military responses or response to neighbors' aggression, right? Then you would find out example headlines called as inaccurate or accurate. So when we say that inaccurate, we can say massive fire destroys whole town. And accurate is what? Fire destroys several buildings in downtown. No casualties reported. Okay. So let's move to the final tips for drafting headlines. The first tip is what that called as use. Uh, so one has to use keywords like include important keywords that give a clear idea of the story. Second, be brief when you when drafting headlines. So keep the headlines. You can say short, usually within 5 to 10 years, while still providing essential details. Third is called as a use punctuations sparingly. Use punctuation like you can say colons, you can also say clashes, right? Or you can say that what? Quotes, quotes. Why to add clarity or uh, emphasize, but at the same time, it also avoids overuse. So by following these principles, one can draft headlines that attention, express nothing but the essence of the story, and encourage readers to continue exploring the article. Isn't it? Okay. Okay, let's move to the next one. That the next one is called as opening lines. And when we talk about opening lines of a newspaper story, right, what we can find out, the opening lines of a newspaper story are crucial. As why? Now, because they set the tone for the rest of the article, isn't it? And these lines should grab the reader's attention immediately and forcing them to read further and using engaging techniques such as you can say anecdotes, vivid description, or direct quotes can create a strong first impression, and you can say that means hook readers from the start, right? Now, what are the key elements of effective opening lines that you can find out? Compelling anecdotes, vivid descriptions, powerful quotes, shocking or surprising statements, and setting the scene. Let's say that compelling anecdotes, like we talked about earlier, a personal or relatable story that can captivate readers and draw them into, you can say, article. So, example, you can say, as the sun set over the charred remains of their home, uh, Mary looked at her neighbors, a mix of grief and hope in their eyes. Together they had lost everything, but together they would rebuild. That's called as a compelling anecdotes. Second is called as a vivid description. Now, when we say that vivid description, we can find out that uh, vivid description tells us or presented a picture for the reader with sensory details, isn't it? An immersive experiences. Let's say that the example is called as the streets of downtown. The streets of downtown New York were alive with the sounds of, means you can say that hurried footsteps, the sum of passing can and the distant of a, you can say that distant call of street vendors, all mixing into the hymn of the city's heartbeat. So that is nothing but a vivid description. So the third one is called as a powerful quotes. So when we talk about powerful quotes, we can say a strong, poignant quote from a key person that can immediately create intrigue and offer insight into the story. Let's take the example. This is, you can say that this is the worst disaster our community has ever faced. Who said? Mayor Johnson said, his voice cracking as he addressed the crowd of devastated residents. Then the fourth one, which is called as a shocking or surprising, you can say that statements, right? Shocking or surprising statements. Like you can say a bold or unexpected statement that can move curiosity and forces the reader to continue. Example, when the you can say that president's helicopter that went down in a remote village, no one could have predicted the political storm, right, that would follow, right? Shocking or surprising statement. Setting the scene. When I say that setting the scene, we can also say that describing the time, place, and mood that can help to, orient the reader and create a sense of urgency or importance. Example, like let's say that it was cold, or it was cold, it was cold, rainy Thursday afternoon when the first sign of the outbreak began to surface in the small town of Riverton, isn't it? Okay. So, types of effective opening lines. So, as far as we know that means the five different types of effective opening lines: straightforward lead, question lead, descriptive lead, anecdotal lead, and contrast lead. So, what is that straightforward lead? You can say that directly informs the reader of the most important aspect of the story in a clear, concise manner. Example, like you can say the new tax reform bill was passed in the House yesterday, and that will overwhelming support from both parties. That can be called as a straightforward lead, isn't it? Second is called as a question lead. So question lead that pose a question that integrates the reader and makes them want to find the answer. Example, like what happens when the world is largest ice shelf begins to begins to melt, right? So that can be called as a kind of a question lead. Descriptive lead, like you can say, uses sensory details to create a vivid image or mood that pulls readers in. Example, like you can say the loud crack of breaking glass that echoed through the night as farmers consumed what? The old warehouse, right? Then fourth one is called as anecdotal lead. So this kind of means this kind of articles which can begin with a short, personal, or engaging story that illustrates the main theme or event. Contrast lead, it highlights stark contrast or unexpected turn of events to draw the readers, you can say that attention. Let's take the example. You can say just a week ago, the village was full of laughter and celebration. Now it lies in ruins after the devastating earthquake. Right. So finally, we come to the final tips for crafting strong opening lines. And when we talk about strong opening lines, it means we are focusing on uh, some of the tips, which is called as strong opening lines must be concise. It must set the tone and engage emotionally and make it relevant. The first one is called as a make it concise. Uh, Understand that when we talk about the effective opening lines and crafting strong opening lines, um, we need to understand the opening line must be short but powerful. It must be short but powerful. It should be enough to hold attention without overwhelming the reader. Second is called as a set the tone. The tone of one's opening should reflect the overall mood of the story, whether it is serious, dramatic, humorous, or reflective. Third, engage emotionally. We use words and phrases that influence what uh, influence an emotional response, whether it is sympathetic, curiosity, or surprise. It is also stated about to make it relevant. It ensures that the opening line is closely tied to the main story and introduces the central theme or sense, right, or issue. So, what we can find out that by applying these strategies, one can draft opening lines that immediately hook readers and set the tone for articles. This that would also encourage them to continue reading, isn't it? Okay, now let's move to the some more important details. We'll go for the next one that's called as a magazine writings, right? Magazine writing. So please to understand that when we talk about magazine writing offers a unique opportunity for creativity and in-depth exploration of niche, right? So niche topics. It's not like newspaper articles, you can say that, which often prioritize brevity and timeliness. Magazine articles allow for more flexibility in style and structure. Writers can use a more engaging and conversational tone, and that goes deeper into subjects and employ what storytelling techniques to captivative readers, isn't it? So, uh, in that case, that is what called as a magazine writing. So, and next we find out the main characteristic of magazine writing. The first one that you would find out is called as a creative freedom. Creative freedom, in-depth exploration, engaging storytelling, use of features and illustration, and variety of topics, isn't it? So the first one is called as a creative freedom. So writers can experiment with the various styles, tones, and formats. The flexibility allows for the what inclusion of you can say that humor. Um, you can also say that what humor, personal anecdotes, or even you can say experimental storytelling techniques. Let's say that a traveler, uh, a, yeah, a travel writer might describe an exotic location with rich sensory details, capturing the sights, smells, and also sounds of exploration of its evolution over decade, right or not? So, uh, third is called as engaging storytelling. Writers are encouraged, or you can say that they must adapt storytelling techniques, um, weaving, you can say that narratives that draw readers in. And this could involve telling a compelling, human, interesting story using anecdotes or creating dramatic scenes. So, let's say that an engaging or an article about a humanitarian project might follow the journey of a volunteer, highlighting their personal experiences, challenges, and moments. right? Moments of transformation, right? Then fourth one is called as the use of features and illustration. When we talk about use of features and the illustrations, magazine articles often make us what? Make use of visually rich content such as photos, illustration, and infographics, right? And these elements help what? Help complement the story and make it more visually appealing. Example, like you can say a fashion article may include high quality photos of outfits alongside description of the trends, designers, and the cultural movements that influencing the fashion world, right? Variety of topics, which is the fifth one, magazine articles that can cover an immense or huge range of subjects for from entertainment, fashion, and lifestyles to science, politics, and technology. Writers often explore what less immediate but equally captivating, right? And topics that might not fit the more urgent nature of news articles. So let's take the example that called as a food magazine that might feature an article on the global rise of plant-based diets, offering both scientific insight and personal story from those who have adopted the lifestyle. Right. Let's look at the different types of what? Different types of magazine article. Okay. So when we talk about different types of magazine articles, we can find out that uh, there are five again called as the different types of magazine articles: feature articles, profile pieces, how-to articles, and opinion or editorial articles, and five which is called as a personal articles. Now, if I talk about the first one, which is called as a feature articles, what I can draw here, these are the most common type of article found in magazines. They provide nothing but in-depth information on a specific topic, right? Often through a combination of research, personal stories, and expert opinions, right? Let's say that an example, a feature article on climate change might include interviews with scientists, activists, and policy experts. They generally weave together with real world examples of how the issue is impacting different regions. So, similar to that profile pieces, these articles focus on a particular person, offering insight uh, into their life, isn't it? Mm, or called as a child into their childhood, culinary journey, uh, and you can say that what and the inspiration behind their signature dishes, isn't it? So the third one, which is called as a how-to articles. So, when we talk about how to articles, these articles are informative and guide the reader through a specific process or skill. They typically include step-by-step instruction or practical advice, right? So, when we talk about how to articles, I can also go for the example like an article on how to start your own garden that could provide tips on selecting plants, soil preparation, and essential gardening tools, isn't it? The fourth one, which is known as opinion or editorial articles, these pieces generally express the writer's personal viewpoint on a current issue or topic. They may argue a particular position or call for action, and they depend heavily on persuasive writing technique, which is convincing the audience, right? Let's say an example, an opinion. piece in a technology magazine might argue for or against the ethical implication of artificial intelligence in everyday life, isn't it? So, and finally, we talk about uh, personal essays. And when we talk about personal essays, we can say these essay type articles are written in a reflective, right, reflective, then personal style, and writers often explore their own thoughts, experience, and emotions that around a particular subject. Let's say that an example, a personal essay about what overcoming a health challenge that might mix the writer's own story with research. And you can also say that broader cultural observation, isn't it? So similar to that, types of magazine articles. So these are the five different types of magazine articles generally we read or audience read. Now next is called as the types for writing magazine articles. Now again we find out when we talk about types for writing magazine articles, what we can find out here. So, types for writing magazine articles, we can say that in this we find out six different tips for writing magazine articles. So we know means one who writes, isn't it? One who writing for magazine articles, so should know his or her audience, like understand the interest and preferences of the magazine readers, and on the basis of that you tailor your tone, language, and style to understand with them. Example, like a magazine aimed at a technology enthusiast will have a different tone and language compared to a lifestyle magazine, isn't it? Second is called as a craft a strong lead. Craft a strong lead. When we say that, just like newspaper articles, the opening of a magazine article should capture attention, whether it is through an intriguing question, a shocking fact, or a compelling anecdote. They make sure the lead draws the reader in. Let's say that example, if I talk about it was a seemingly ordinary afternoon when you can say Sarah discovered her passion for photography. But little did she know that what the discovery would change her life forever, isn't it? So that's something called as a uh, craft a strong lead. Use a conversational tone. While magazine writing can be more formal and structured depending on the topic, a conversational tone can make the article feel more relatable and engaging. Like you can say, so you have decided to take up yoga. Well, you are in for a life-changing experience. But before you rush into it, let's take a look at what you will. Um, you can say that what you will need to get started, right? So that is what you can say. Use conversational tone, include multiple sources like magazine articles, especially feature pieces should provide a variety of viewpoints and sources to make sure depth and credibility. Let's say that the examples are indicating a health article that may include expert opinions, data from medical studies, and quotes from individuals who have experienced the issue firsthand, right? Then we talk about next one, use descriptive and evocative language. And this fifth one, which is indicating as a what? uh, Descriptive and evocative language. We use rich descriptive language to paint clear picture for the reader. This is particularly important in feature stories and profiles where imagery helps create nothing but a deeper emotional connection. right? So let's say that the example which you can find out that called as the mountains that appeared with what? Mm, appeared like ancient sentinels. So you can say that their jagged peaks piercing the sky as the winds whispered stories of a time long past. Now, what do you find out? Evocative or descriptive? Then the last one, which is stated, balance facts with the personal insights. Let's say that combined well researched facts with the personal observation or anecdotes to keep the article informative yet engaging. That's what balance fact with personal insight. You can say a travel article that could describe what? The cultural importance of a place while also sharing what? The writer's personal experience and emotional reaction, right? So finally, we look at the final thoughts. Magazine writing. What is that? It is a versatile and creative field, and that offers what? Offers writers the opportunity to experiment with the different styles and explore niche topics in depth. Whether you are writing a compelling profile, an in-depth feature, or an insightful how to. The goal is to nothing but engage and inform readers while maintaining a tone and style in that, right, style that fits the magazine's brand and audience also, right? So these are the things that we have discussed. So let's have a kind of a recap, recap to the things that we have read. As far as we understood, we find out that we have read about writing for newspaper, how it requires a balance between, you can say, presenting hard facts and engaging storytelling. Such and also it discusses successful newspaper writing that helps understanding the nuances of different types of stories and formats, such as hard news, soft news, and feature writing, right? And the key concept that we understood here is called as hard news, focuses on immediate factual events with significant political, social, economic, or cultural impact. Second, written in an inverted pyramid structure, presenting nothing but the most crucial information first, right? Followed by supporting details, key elements, prioritize facts, verify sources, and avoid unnecessary details, right? So that's what you would find out in a hard news. Soft news, we understood that they tell human interest stories with emotional angles, offering more flexibility in narrative and structure, common in features, stories that explore deeper personal aspects of news events. So here also you would find out the key elements that called as a engaging headlines, unique angle, and in-depth research with relatable characters. Then beside hard news, soft news, we also find out writing. So in feature writing, we can find out a more creative means and detailed uh, than hard news, allowing for personal touches and a flexible structure. Second is called as involves informative human interest, historical, satirical, and how to features. Third is called as the writers are encouraged to explore what topics in depth using anecdotes, descriptive language, and a balanced tone. Right. We also discuss headlines, opinion pieces, and magazine writing. So when we say that headlines, we can say essential for grabbing readers' attention, why headlines are necessary. Headlines should be concise and how it should be written. Headlines should be concise, accurate, and written in active voice. A good headline reflects the essence of the story. without misleading the reader. Second, opinion pieces. When we talk about opinion pieces, we understood provide a platform for expressing personal perspectives on current issues, requiring strong research and persuasive argumentation. Um, and these pieces aim to influence or provoke thought, offering in-depth analysis and clear reasoning, right? And the last one is called as a magazine writing. So magazine writing, you can say that allows for uh, creativity and deep exploration of niche topics. It's characterized by a more engaging conversational tone and flexible structures. Types of articles that include features, profile, how to, personal essays, and opinion pieces with a focus on what storytelling and in-depth analysis. So, all total, if you talk about mastering these elements, make sure that writers can design impactful, engaging content that both informs and captivates readers, whether it is hard news, soft news, feature writing, or opinion pieces. The ultimate goal is to communicate clearly, effectively, and creatively. Creative, isn't it? So that's all. I hope you understood all such kind of things which have been discussed. Um, if you like this, then please like, subscribe the channel, and give your comment. What are the things that you need to know more? Um, I'll also share some questions as well as their answer. I hope this video as well as the video which means which is pertain to the first unit of this writing for mass media uh, was done. So means must be found good or means helpful for you. So please give your comment and means suggest that how it can be improved further or more advanced, right? So whether you like English to English teaching or you want me to switch over from means English or college English to other language, right? Other language means that called as Odia or Hindi. That's all for the day. Thank you for your patience. Keep learning. Happy learning.